All right, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. So today we've got my Mustang Mach-E and we're comparing it against the Tesla Model Y. All right, so my Mustang Mach-E, this is a 2022 standard range, premium trim, all-wheel drive Mach-E. And this Tesla is a 2024, so it's 2 years newer. And it is the long range dual motor option. And it also has a 7-seat configuration, which we'll get into a little bit later. So yeah, let's walk around the cars. I'll take you inside. We're gonna take them out on the road. We'll also go back to the garage and I'll show you a little more detail on, how things fit, how much interior room we have. We'll compare the infotainment and everything as well. So let's go. All right, so I'll take you around the cars. So we'll start with the Tesla. Right away, just starting with the exterior, the Tesla does have wider tires. It's got 255 width tires. They're both on 19-inch wheels. And they also have these front kind of mud flaps, stone guards there. And then there's also some protection film on there as well. Coming around to the back here, the charge port is right here. It is powered. Both have glass roofs, and then cameras. Tesla has cameras up here and down here, as well as several cameras up there in the mirror. So here's the Mach-E. It has a camera in the front right here. It also has one camera up there looking out the windshield. The Mach-E is two 25 width tires. And these are also 19-inch wheels. The charge port is here. It's not powered, it's manual. So J1772 for level 2 charging, AC, and then DC pins for DC fast charging. So when you use the full port, it's the CCS port. There's also cameras here in the mirrors, glass roof on the Mach-E as well. And then there's another camera back here. So Mach-E front trunk here. It's a quick look at that. Here's the Tesla. Teslas and the Mach-Es. One note is the 2025 Mach-Es are getting a heat pump added, and some of the photos I've seen, the front trunk space is a little bit smaller, so just keep that in mind. If that space is important to you. The Model Y already has a heat pump. Okay, so just to show you the space better, this is a smaller suitcase. It's 16 inches wide, and with the wheels, it's about 23 inches long, 10 or 11 inches high. Oh, maybe like that it would fit. You've got a little bit extra space kind of around the sides here. The widest point is about 33 inches, 29 and 3/4, about 16 and a half inches, 15 inches. And then this kind of slopes down in the front, 11 and a half inches or so. All right, so here comes the same bag. So suitcase fits in both of them, which is great. 35 inches across, about 9.5 inches. Kind of the full depth is about 15 inches. So yeah, I think the Mach-E has a little bit more width, but you're kind of losing some of what makes it look bigger. Like this opening, definitely bigger, but you lose a lot right here. As far as like how much stuff you can actually fit in there, I don't think it's a huge difference when you compare the two. Okay, so getting in the Mach-E, you push this button, and then there's an actuator here called the presenter that opens the door. So you have two screens, two displays, speedometer, range, and then in the center screen, that's going to be more your navigation, settings, climate. Yeah, here's a look at the front seats, and then I'll show you the back as well. And the Mach-E roof does slope down a fair amount here, but you do actually have pretty decent headroom in here because you have the glass roof. So, my head kind of goes up into this little bubble here. So great headroom back here. Good rear seat room. Take one more look around here. And you have one USB-C and one USB-A. And the Mach-E seats, these can fold down as well. The rear cargo space, I'll just show you that real quick, and then I'll show you again at the garage. So here's what it looks like in the back of the Mach-E. Button up here for the Mach-E. Let's go take a look at the Tesla. Tesla does have a door handle. It's flush with the car, and then to open it, you push your thumb in here. That kind of unlocks it, and then you can grab the handle and open it the rest of the way. The Tesla doors are frameless, meaning this is just glass here, where the Mach-E has, you know, a door frame that goes the rest of the way around the window. So when your windows are down, there's no extra door in the way, which is kind of nice. So here's the Tesla interior. Obviously very different. It has one screen, but it's oriented in the landscape way. Also has the glass roof. And then in the back seat here, there's a little more height here to get in. So sitting back here, also have pretty good room as well. And this also has the 7-seat configuration. So you can move this seat forward, pull it up, and then there's a third row. So not a lot of leg room. So yeah, I got one of the rear seats up. So let me put that back down. And then we can slide this back. So that's what it looks like with the third row down and the middle rear seats all the way back. Okay, and here's a look at the third row with the headrests up. Looks kind of funny. They're actually above the side of the car. So there's really very little headroom once the actual hatch is down. Back seat here, you do have some climate vents, and you do have two USB-C charging ports there. I'll show you a little bit bigger suitcase, about 26 inches long, 18 inches wide, about 11 inches tall. Easily 12, almost 13 inches of depth, 24, 25 inches across. There are also kind of these deep pockets down to the side over here as well. Here's a bicycle helmet, and that fits all the way down in there. So yeah, tons of storage. And then obviously, once you fold the third row down, you know, now you got tons of room back here, about 42 inches, and then 38 inches on the width. Third row armrest to armrest, it's about 36 inches. If you go, this is kind of like golf bag direction, you've got 60 inches if you go into these little crevices. Where you're gonna get that full 60 inches is only about 2 to 3 inches wide. Even in the part where it's not the full 60, pretty easily about 55 inches or so. Okay, so comparing to the Mach-E, so we had about 42, 43 inches from the second row to the very back. Mach-E second row to the very back, only 34 inches. Mach-E width back here, so Tesla armrest to armrest was 36, 41 inches. So you have a little bit more width there in the Mach-E. Past the wheel wells, 45 inches or so, just a little bit here. But then the Tesla has those deep pockets that go way back in there, and that's 55 to 60 inches. And then the Mach-E under here, nowhere near the storage that you have in the Tesla. So, you know, I've got my charger and stuff here. 3.5 inches, probably more realistically about 3 inches. Plus, you know, there's a few extension cords right here, but you don't have that huge amount of depth that you have on the Tesla. These are the same two suitcases I was showing you before. You've got decent height back here too, so you could have this, the larger one on its side. And then let me show you the same bags in the Tesla. Okay, so here's the bags in the Tesla, and if we put these on their side, kind of show you the width a little bit better. So they're pretty much using up the full width there where the third row armrests are. There's still some more room back here, like 12 inches of room back here. So yeah, you know, the Mach-E back seat is very nice, but considering the third row, or if you lose the third row, you have more cargo space. Definitely feels like the Model Y uses the interior room slightly better. Mach-E, I feel like you notice where the battery is more than the Tesla. The Tesla battery feels like it's hidden a lot better. The Mach-E, it's just like a 6-inch slab, where the Tesla's hidden more in the bottom there. All right, so here's the infotainment on the Mach-E. All your climate controls are here at the bottom, so you can tap up or down here, or we'll turn the fan speed down. There's kind of 3 auto settings, or you can adjust 1 through 7 here. You can use the knob, which is kind of nice. And then whatever you tap on, like temperature, then the knob activates that, even for the heated seats, different levels here. This view looks a little more like the Tesla view, where it'll show you kind of where the air is coming from, but you can't drag around here on the screen to adjust the airflow. You have your physical climate vents that you can move around, a little more like a standard car. You've got heated wheel here, heated front 2 seats. This does support Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. It'll take up this full part of the gray screen here. So it looks nice on the display. And then this is kind of the settings preferences page. So you have your 3 drive modes. Whisper is going to be, you know, smoothest acceleration, lowest amount of regen when you let off on the accelerator. Then engage is going to also the lightest steering. And then engage is going to tighten up the steering a little bit, give you a little more regen, more throttle response. And then unbridle is most amount of regen, kind of tightest, firmest wheel, and you know, most aggressive acceleration. You do have 1 pedal drive, and you can turn that on or off. And propulsion sound is interior cabin sound, and it's a little more aggressive, less aggressive between the different drive modes. And then you have auto hold if you want, so you could do auto hold, no 1 pedal drive if you wanted to. If you want to open the front or rear trunks, you can do that right here. And then you have different driving profiles here, so you can add multiple profiles. It'll save those settings, save your seat settings, all that good stuff. Then you've got your cameras here. So we've got a bike sitting in front of the car here in the garage. And then you have your 360 cam. So it looks a little weird when things are super close to it. You can see the Tesla sitting here. I've got the garage door down back here, the bike's up here. But super handy for parking spaces, checking if you're close to a curb. And then let's look at more of the settings. And then sound, you can adjust the balance where it is in the car. You can adjust your EQ here. There's 2 different sound modes, you know, whether you want stereo or surround sound. Driver assistance. Yeah, so adaptive cruise, you know, it's going to adjust your speed, even apply brakes if necessary. Hands-free, this is the Bluecruise option. Speed sign will read the speed signs and adjust your speed, and then you can also adjust a tolerance up or down. Lane keep, the wheel will vibrate if you go outside one of the lanes, and it will alert you with that. Pre-collision assist, you know, if you're getting too close to somebody, or a car stopped and you're not slowing down. Rear view camera delay, this is just when you shift back in the drive, do you still want it to show the rear camera for a few seconds? So blind spot, you can turn that on or off. Cross traffic, that's like if you're backing out in a parking lot, somebody's driving towards you, it'll alert you of that, kind of helps you with sensors, look left and right. Reverse brake assist, this, I sometimes get warnings about this, that this doesn't work, but it's supposed to be able to apply brakes if you're about to back into something. Driver alert, pay better attention, keep your eyes on the road. So vehicle settings here. So yeah, a decent number of settings here. You can auto fold the mirrors, some lock options, lighting options. Other general items here, you've got units, displays, ambient lighting options. So you can adjust those, the intensity, the color. You can connect to Wi-Fi. This also has vehicle hotspot if you want to pay for that. Software updates here. So that's the last update I received. There's really not a good way to tell like what version I'm running. These are kind of the voice commands. I honestly just end up using Siri to talk to my phone. I've never actually tried this. Do navigation, climate. You can do Alexa and then valet mode here. Okay, valet mode enabled. So then when you're in valet mode, they can still get to the cameras, but they can't change any vehicle settings, can't change any profile settings. They can adjust the climate, but it's pretty bare bones. And then as far as apps go, there is a built-in navigation app. There's a YouTube app, a couple of games. I have a video that goes more into the games. Some games do use the knob to move stuff around on the screen, so that's kind of fun. Nothing uses a steering wheel, at least not right now, like the Tesla does. So this does have a driver display. Pretty basic, not a ton of information here, but kind of all your basics. Feels a little more natural when you're driving to have this information right there in front of you. You've got your mileage, what gear you're in, speed, battery percentage, range, your direction, your heading. And so you're not glancing over here at the screen to see that information. So I do like having this. I do find that sometimes I'm kind of like, this might be more my view of it as, based on my seat setting. So like some of it gets cut off, just based on where I usually like to sit. So yeah, I do like that the Mach-E has it, but as I mentioned in other videos, I do wish this display told you more about what was going on with the car. I wish there was more pages you could flip through on here and you could see like, are the motors getting too hot, motor RPM, battery temperature, am I regenning? How much am I regenning? How much power is the car using right now? Obviously it's nice to have a basic screen, but at least give the option to configure that. Because even in the different drive modes, like if we switch over to unbridled, nothing changes. When you step on the accelerator, it'll put this kind of like kind of triangle pattern kind of in the display, depending on how fast you're going or how much acceleration you're doing. You can kind of see up in the corner here, the pattern is there. So that looks kind of neat, but that's all they do. They don't even, give you like a kind of more track looking speedometer or, obviously you're not shifting gears, so RPM isn't that big of a deal, but just being able to find out more of what's going on with the car, I think would be nice to see. So here's the Mach-E charging screen. So you can set charging locations, which is where you can set a, charging limit. But there's no like global limit in the car. So if you're not at one of those locations, it will just charge to 100%. You can also easily adjust it in the phone app as well, but just something to keep in mind. There's no amperage limits or settings like the Tesla has. And then the trips in the Mach-E, so it has this trip since you turn the car on, and then trip 1 and trip 2. So definitely looks a lot different than the Tesla, but you get a lot of the similar information. The Tesla just feels a little more refined with all that. As far as other connectivity up here, you've got one wireless charging pad. You can see it a little bit better under here. And then you have a USB-C and a USB-A. Your gear selector is down here. In the 25 Mach-Es, it looks like they're actually going to go to a stock gear selector up here. So that's all going to look a little bit different, but at least through 2024, you're going to have a dial down here, hazards, parking brake, And then in here, you've got a 12 volt, and then you've got window controls, mirror controls, seat controls, headlight controls, front defrost, max defrost, and then you can adjust your climate vents physically on off, move these around. You've got speakers up here in the dash. The Mach-E also does have another storage shelf under here, so that gives you some nice space under here as well. And yeah, that's what this looks like. All right, so we're here in the Model Y. So climate, you can tap here. Both the Model Y and the Mach-E have dual climate. I think the dual other option on that side comes up when somebody's sitting there, but you can turn it on and off here. And then there's no physical vents that you can adjust here. You're adjusting airflow and where the air is flowing all on the screen here. And the rear, you can turn on heated seats, and all three in the back. The Mach-E doesn't have that. The Mach-E is just front heated seats. So yeah, the screen orientation is obviously in landscape compared to Mach-E as portrait, because there is no driver screen here. And so the information you're going to need when you're driving, like your speed and stuff like that, is going to be kind of in this corner over here. All of your controls, as far as the mirror, steering wheel, all that kind of stuff, is going to be done on the screen. So like the Mach-E has mirror controls over here. They do have window controls here, so you can put your windows up and down. And then to get out of the car, you're going to press here. But no other controls over here. So if you want to adjust your mirrors, you can go to mirrors here, and then adjust the left mirror. You're actually going to use the scroll wheel here to adjust the mirror around there. Wipers, auto, these are the different wiper speeds, where the Mach-E had the wiper controls here. The gear selector controls here with the Tesla are on the stock. Like I mentioned, in 2025, the Mach-E is also planning to go to a stock control, so there's no dial here in the Model Y. So dynamics, so these are kind of like the different drive modes. You have chill acceleration and standard. You can also change your steering wheel weight. All the people that know Tesla better than me, you can leave a comment, but I don't see a way to actually turn off one pedal drive. This is a 2024 Model Y, and I was reading some forums online, and it looks like that's no longer an option. So you have to drive this with one pedal drive, which means the car is doing regen braking, fairly aggressively when you fully let off on the accelerator. So you really only use the brake pedal, in a kind of more of an emergency situation, really. I don't know if that's going to be a deal breaker for you or not, but just keep that in mind. Doesn't look like you can turn off one pedal drive here. Charging, you can open the charge port. It is a motorized charge port on here. The Mach-E does not have this. You can change the current limit when you're charging. So you can go all the way down to 5 amps if you wanted to, all the way up to 48 amps. Obviously, it's going to do whatever the charger is capable of max, so you're not going to get 48 amps out of a 12 amp charger, but you can set the limit here, and the Mach-E, you cannot do that. So that's pretty cool. It does have the full self-driving supervised, some offsets here that you can set, forward collision warning. So a lot of this is similar to the Mach-E. Obviously the full self-driving's not, but you have probably similar, maybe a little bit more options here. This does have a key card option, which is what I have since I'm renting this car. The child lock, the Mach-E does have that, but it's just a button on the side by the window switches. It's not in the infotainment system. Lights, ambient lighting, although I don't think you can adjust the color. Some display options, brightness. So trips, so you have a lot more trip information on here. So this has basically one more trip than the Mach-E does. The Mach-E has a trip 1 and 2, and your current drive, but it doesn't have this since last charge option. So that's kind of nice. I like how Tesla did that. They're also showing it in watt hours per mile. The Mach-E does miles per kilowatt hour. You can arrive at the same conclusions. It's just a little bit different way of thinking about it. You have some navigation settings, some preconditioning schedule options. This does have dash cam recording and also the Sentry mode for recording using the cameras around you when you're parked. It can record what's going on. The Mach-E doesn't do any of that, at least not right now. The Mach-E, as far as I know, I've never seen it come on, does not have cabin overheat protection either. So that's where the car can run AC or at least run the fan to kind of vent the car when it's super hot outside. The Mach-E does not have that. There is also none of these modes, like keep the climate running, dog mode, camp mode. Mach-E doesn't have any of those. Service option, you can see the tire pressures on the Mach-E as well. But there's just more options in here. You know, there's a car wash mode, you know, towing. The Mach-E did have that, you know, press here and hold to tow. Software we're running is version 12. You can also switch and look at the cameras here. This does not do Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. So you do have basically everything you're going to be doing is over Bluetooth. So, you know, it does work as far as like playing your music, sending, receiving calls, texts, but you're not going to be doing Google Maps or anything like that. And here you're going to be using the built-in navigation, which is very good. And then on the car, if you want to open the front and rear trunk, you can just do that here, and it'll show you that. It's kind of fun to move the car around and you can see that. And then you have two wireless charging pads up here. You also have nice deep storage in here. You have, really there's storage all the way up under here as well. So you can take this little basket out and you got a bunch of storage here. The Mach-E does have some storage down here, which the Tesla does not have, but it does have a very deep storage here. So that looks nice. And then again, over here on the side, just your unlock window switches. There's also no start-stop button on the Model Y, or really any of the Teslas as far as I know. Also, the Tesla has some pretty cool racing games where you can actually use the steering wheel. But yeah, if we look out here, it's still turning the actual wheel, which is kind of funny. But yeah, pretty fun. All right, here we go in the Mach-E. Got a little uphill and faster speed, so we're gonna hit it here. And there's 60. So this is the standard range Mach-E, all-wheel drive, so it does have the two motors. But since it's a smaller battery pack, the horsepower rating's down a little bit because it can't pull quite as much out. Even though the torque numbers are the same, so I think that initial punch off the line is going to be similar, but you're going to notice the power kind of taper off a little more up top. Right now I'm driving in one pedal mode in engage. I don't see a way to turn off one pedal drive in the Tesla, so I want to try and have as little difference between the two as possible while I'm driving them. We're at 90% state of charge in the Mach-E, so we should be getting kind of max performance here. That being said, the battery really didn't have much time to warm up, so might get a little bit more once the battery's warmed up. So driving position, you know, I'm super used to this car. I've owned this car a little over 2 years now, put over 20,000 miles on it. We're almost at 21,000. This is the car I drive every day to work, and so I'm super used to it. You know, everything's adjusted just how I like it. So yeah, we're driving this one first, and then we'll drive the Tesla next, so I get another fresh comparison. I just picked up the Tesla yesterday, and so I've only driven it about 40 miles, 45 miles. So yeah, still very fresh in that car, but driving them back to back here should have a nice, good perspective here. I did reset the trip. We'll drive the same little loop I'm gonna do with both cars, just so we can compare the efficiency a little bit. I'm just doing climate off on both. You know, the Tesla is gonna have the advantage because it has a heat pump, but 66 degrees outside, so I don't really need the climate anyways. So yeah, you know, this car, I've really enjoyed it. It's been great for me. You know, probably my really only complaints about it are The infotainment is kind of slow. You know, I feel like this would really benefit from having wider tires as far as handling goes. And, you know, just seeing the Tesla today, it does feel like the Tesla has the advantage on the interior storage. So that does seem pretty appealing. But anyways, we're talking about driving experience right now. You know, as far as comfort in the seat, you know, I feel like I've got plenty of width here. And, you know, I can see out of the car pretty well. You know, I think once I get in the Tesla, then I'll be able to tell you a little bit more really what the difference is. So we got this pretty much 90-degree turn here on the brakes. So yeah, we'll take the Tesla through that same turn and kind of see if we can feel much difference. And then going along the road here, you know, there's a few bumps in the road, but it seems it's fairly quiet in here. Okay, so we're gonna do a quick little interstate run here. Okay. There we go. Okay, so the speed limit's 80 in here. So going 80. Just activated Bluecruise. All right, well, we finished our loop. We went 13 miles, 13.4 miles, 20 minutes. And the car says we did 3.7 miles per kilowatt hour. We got pretty good regen, I think, which probably helped. But we still went pretty fast. I mean, we got up to 80 there on the interstate. But again, it was a pretty short loop. So yeah, let's go hop in the Tesla. All right, so we're here in the Tesla. Here we go. Wow. Wow. This pulls harder than the Mach-E for sure. That was 60. And the power comes on a little different, almost. The Mach-E feels like it hits a little harder at the beginning, where the Tesla feels like the faster you go, like the harder it's pulling. Now, this is the long-range battery, so it's a larger battery, so it should be able to put out a little more power. There's obviously the GT Mach-E, and then there's also the Model Y Performance as well. So these things are fast, but I think most people knew that already. I think just to start out, you know, the driving position in here is definitely different. I mean, yes, it's similar, but probably the biggest things you're going to notice are the seats. First of all, it feels like between the door and where the center armrest is here, that space feels a little more narrow, and you also feel like you're down in that space, like you're kind of more snug in it. The seats have like a little more travel in terms of their give, but they feel a little narrower, and they have a little bit more bigger side bolsters than the Mach-E does. Also, the other big difference too is looking over the front. I can't see the hood at all. Even if I look all the way up here, I mean, the hood drops off pretty substantially, where the Mach-E hood's a little more straight out and then drops. So, you know, while you're driving the Mach-E, you're looking over the front fenders, and it looks more like you're driving, you know, a muscle car. Now, that's a pretty big stretch for the Mach-E, but you are looking at that. Where here, you're just looking basically straight down at the road. So that's also personal preference. Yeah, and then the rear view mirror in the Model Y here is definitely smaller, both vertically and width-wise. And the amount you can see out the back, I think you can see out the back of the Mach-E better. Now, the Tesla has this nice big screen, good cameras all around. The Mach-E does too, but you know, I think the cameras and stuff help make up for that a little bit. But yeah, it is kind of hard to see out the back. This car is also tinted, so that makes it even worse. Yeah, and then the glass roof has definitely more tint than my Mach-E. I'm guessing they tinted the glass roof as well. it's a little more natural, and this part of the door sill is a little bit wider and at a slightly better height, so it actually feels better to rest your elbow over here. Yeah, so we're just going down the same road. As far as the ride goes, they're honestly pretty similar. This feels a little bit more firm in some ways, but the seat feels like it has more give. So, you know, what you're feeling in your back basically is either similar or maybe a little softer in here. And then what you feel with your feet in here feels a little more firm, and like you can feel the bumps a little more than the Mach-E. That's kind of my kind of quick take. So we're coming up to our sharp left turn here. So let's see how the Model Y feels here. Huh, okay. So, you know, I'm not a driving expert. The Mach-E felt like it had a little more understeer, like you kind of felt the weight of the car on the right side of the car, and like, you know, it felt like the tires were squirming a little bit, where the Model Y feels like it maybe has a little more oversteer, you know, maybe go a little bit more into the turn than you were originally thinking. Okay, so we got a hard right turn here. Yeah, the Mach-E feels better in the turn, I think, and again, I'm more used to the Mach-E. But yeah, honestly, I think if you're considering either of these cars, and it's like you want one of them, you're not sure which one, I think you're going to be happy with the driving experience on both of them. I don't think the handling is going to be the deciding factor. Maybe it is for you, but probably not. It's probably going to be something else, like the infotainment or the 7-seater option. All right, so we're going to get on the interstate here, get up to 80. Yeah, this is definitely faster than my Mach-E. Wow. Maybe just slightly louder than the Mach-E. I feel like I hear a little more wind noise in here, and also a little more low end. So yeah, I think, you know, just kind of final thoughts on that short drive back to back with these two. The Model Y is definitely faster, but they do make faster models of the Mach-E. It feels more planted in the turns. I think that's a big part of the wider tires. And the weight distribution feels different. It feels like there's more going on in the front on the Model Y, where it feels like more is happening in the back on the Mach-E. I think the Model Y has a little more oversteer, where the Mach-E has a little bit more understeer. And I think cruising around, you know, volume-wise, I think both are pretty similar. I think the Model Y, I could hear a little more wind noise. And when you're going over bumps, there also feels like there's a little more bass, a little more low end as you're kind of thudding along. There's also a little more rattles in the Model Y. I just noticed as I kind of made the last little loop here. And this car is 2 years newer and has 15,000 less miles. So just something to keep in mind. I mean, it wasn't like terrible or anything, but I did notice that a little bit. Again, I think driving position, you feel like you're sitting a little bit lower in the car, but then you don't really see the hood in here. It is a little bit harder to see out the back. And then I would say looking out the sides, probably looking out the rear side windows actually is a little bit easier to see out of here because there is more height there compared to the Mach-E. So yeah, I think both are going to be very similar in a lot of ways, but these are kind of the little differences I've noticed so far. Oh, and last note, also we did 14 miles, 22 minutes, so very similar to the Mach-E, and our average was 229 watt-hours per mile. So I'll do the calculation there on the screen and we'll see which one's more efficient. So we're on full self-driving here. Should get over. And yeah, you can see the intersection there on the screen. Pretty impressive, it can see all that. Okay, light's green, we're waiting for the car in front of us to go. Question is does it honk? No, okay. At least not yet. Okay, and it's going over the line, so I'm gonna correct there, re-engage. What the car knows is going on the screen is seriously impressive. Okay, so it's gonna need to get over one lane. Okay, it didn't signal to do that. I guess you technically didn't need to, because that lane kind of comes out of nowhere there. Okay, it's being a little weird on the braking here, but so far this feels okay. Okay, so we got red light, it's stopped. And it can see, you can see how far back we are here, and it's still able to see a lot of what's going on at the light. Wow. Okay. That was impressive. Okay, now it's gonna need to get over one lane up here. Okay, it's got the signal on. There's traffic coming. I'm taking over. Okay, I think it would have done that. I'm just, again, it's not my car, so I'm not going to risk it. I did figure out how to change the speed. You can use this wheel here and adjust whatever your max is. So I was thinking the offset would kind of override that or whatever, but I guess not. All right, so we're here in the Mach-E. Just want to show you what the driver assistance here looks like. So this is off highway. So it can do adaptive cruise, and then it's doing lane centering right now. This icon there means keep your hands on the wheel, but it'll handle the steering. So I'm gonna need to disengage here for the roundabout. Re-engage here. And then you can see the icon there. It can see the lines, but it hasn't switched to lane centering, and there goes the lane centering now. So yeah, pretty basic, definitely handy, you know, to have. It's better than nothing for sure, but obviously completely different realm than any kind of self-driving or full self-driving. It's still checking that you're looking ahead, like you just saw there, with the eye tracking down here. No stop sign or traffic light detection or anything, at least not yet. Ford's really focused on doing highway type driving with Bluecruise and trying to make the highway experience as good as possible. Okay, so I'm turning on the speed sign recognition just to kind of show you the max of what the system can do. Okay, so I have it set to 31 there, and then it just auto switched to 40 based on that speed limit sign we just passed. I can adjust the speed and override that if I want to. Okay, so here it knows the speed is going to change to 35, so that time it showed it on the display and it's slowing down, but then all of a sudden it just switched back to 45. Here's the speed limit sign, 35. Now it auto changed and it's slowing down. So I think some of the speed limit changes are mapped, and then it's gonna stop here. Since there's a car in front of me, then, you know, this feels a little more like self-driving. But if there's no car here, it's not gonna stop because it doesn't detect traffic lights or anything like that. So here it shows stopped. So I'm gonna go ahead and push resume. And now the car is resuming. You can see it's a little slow there to kind of close the gap and get going. All right, so we're getting on the freeway here, so we'll go ahead and set 65. So it's doing lane centering, adaptive cruise right now. Go ahead and get over. Okay, it's working on picking up the lines. Okay, so we're in Bluecruise now. So yeah, I have a whole video on the latest Bluecruise, at least version 1.3, which is what my 2022 Mach-E has here. It can do lane changes now. It will also reposition you in the lane if you're going by a large truck. So I'll show you a lane change here. So I just put the blinker on to initiate it. It does the lane change and then turns off the blinker. You know, pretty basic display, obviously a lot more basic than Tesla's system, you know, where you can see really the computer vision of everything going on around you. Here it just shows you if there's a car in front of you or not. Obviously it can see to the side to do lane changes and stuff, but it's just a very basic display. It's perfectly fine, it gets the job done. No complaints about that. And it's hands-free, so as long as you keep your eyes on the road, if you take your eyes off the road, as you've seen a few times in the video, it'll notify you of that. But yeah, it works really well, especially the 1.3 update. There's even a 1.4 and I think even maybe a 1.5 that's being tested right now, where it'll actually initiate lane changes for you. There's still some instances like this where you're coming up to like a freeway entrance and it wants you to put your hands on the wheel. Now it's still doing the lane change here, but it's not comfortable with having me have my hands off the wheel for a few parts. And then pretty soon here it will re-engage. So let's see. Okay, yep, we're re-engaged now. And then it'll move me over here on the display because I'm going by the truck, which is super nice. And then it'll move me back here in just a second. Yep. And that definitely makes for a lot less interventions driving on Bluecruise. So I really like that feature. All right, so we're gonna charge it here. So we need our adapter. I'm gonna do level 2 charging. And then this should go green when it's charging, yep. So then here's the charging stats. So 30 amps, 204 volts, 6 kilowatts. So it would take us 5 hours to get up to 100% there. And then you could lower the current here if you wanted to. So here, let's go 25 amps. So now you can see it's going to take 6 hours. So here goes the speed. Yeah, so unfortunately we're power sharing. All right, so we're at the supercharger charging. You know, just some final thoughts. Tesla's a great car. I'm impressed. Now, I knew it was a good car. I had driven one probably about 6 to 12 months before I bought the Mach-E. I didn't drive another one. I just, at the time when I heard about the Mach-E and saw what the Mach-E looked like, I just kind of wanted a Mach-E. But I think comparing these a little more closely now that I'm more familiar with EVs, having on the Mach-E for 2 years, it's really, really nice. You know, it's definitely still a tough decision between the two. They are both very good cars. You know, both cars have a lot going for them. You know, and I think, you know, consider my Mach-E has the smaller battery. and it doesn't have the full self-driving capabilities. The interior, I think I like the seats in the Mach-E a little bit better. These seats feel a little bit warm, like there's not a lot of ventilation to them. I think that's what's nice about the Mach-E. It has a little holes in it, so it's more breathable. These seats are not breathable at all. So now that I've been sitting in it a little while, I think I like the Mach-E seats better, even though these feel like a little bit softer, a little more cushion. Also, the usable space with the 7 seats, that's pretty cool. You definitely feel like you have more interior storage in the Model Y, especially with the 7-seat configuration. That's kind of a nice to have. Sure, it's really tiny, it's hard to get in there, but I could see little kids loving that. Also, you know, the front trunk seems pretty similar. The Mach-E has a little more height. Yeah, and then I think, you know, when I first started driving this car, I kept looking right through the steering wheel trying to find the screen, and it's like obviously not there. But the second day I drove this car, the first day when I first picked it up, I kept looking there. I was like, where's the speed? And obviously I know it's over here, but just instinctively while I'm driving, I keep looking there. So once I kind of remapped that in my head to right here, the second day it didn't really bother me. Honestly, I don't know if I miss the driver's screen all that much, just because I can get everything I need over here. And kind of once you get used to the layout and the infotainment, you know, you can adjust all the stuff you normally would adjust. So yeah, I think the Mach-E's physical buttons, you know, the mirror controls, maybe like the max defrost, headlights, you know, I don't know if those things are really a huge advantage. Honestly, if the Mach-E had a physical trunk button, that would be nice. That would be worthwhile. Yeah, not a big deal to have everything here in the middle. Yeah, so I think the advantages the Mach-E has, I do think the Mach-E still looks better. Now, obviously, that's subjective, personal preference. I think the Tesla Model 3 looks better than the Y. I mean, the Y is just a, you know, vertically extended Model 3, basically. So they didn't really start with the Model Y as the original design. Honestly, it'd be kind of cool if the Model Y had a little more unique design and was kind of redesigned from the ground up, but that's more expensive, and that's how Tesla was able to keep the prices down when they made the Y. But just when you see Ys and 3s, the 3s just look a lot better. The Ys just look kind of bulbous, to be honest. I think this spec with the all black and white interior, I think that looks really solid. I'm kind of so-so on these wheels. I like my Mach-E wheels better. So yeah, I give the styling to the Mach-E. I would give the seats to the Mach-E. Kind of interior room space for the driver, I would give it to the Mach-E. You know, kind of, you know, somebody that's not familiar with EVs or has never driven a Tesla before, I think the learning curve on the Mach-E is a lot lower. You can kind of jump in that, and you've got your dial for your gear selector. You know, you can turn off one pedal drive. You've got a driver display. You've got a start stop button. So it's just a little more accessible, which is nice. But you drive this for 2 days, and then you get used to all the differences. You get used to the one pedal drive. You get used to the gear selector being up here, which the Mach-E is going to do anyways. And all that stuff ends up not being as big of a deal. So I think that's something to keep in mind, is like if you test drive both of these cars and you're coming from a non-EV, you're probably going to feel more comfortable in the Mach-E to begin with. That would be my guess. But I would give the Tesla a second chance, because kind of once you get used to some of those things, it's like, yeah, this is fine, or in some cases might be better. But again, it's personal preference. That's why there's these different cars, and not everybody drives the exact same car, which is I think good. You know, I probably do miss the physical climate vents a little bit, being able to adjust those. The screen to adjust them does work, but yeah, again, the Mach-E is just a little more traditional car. Obviously, the Tesla has a huge advantage on the software, probably an advantage on the charging as well. You know, the Mach-E has supercharger access now, but it's not all superchargers. It's select V3 chargers. So I'm at a V2 charger. I can't charge my Mach-E here. Now, the V2 chargers are slower, and you know, there's Electrify America down the street. So actually, if I had my Mach-E, I'd probably actually prefer to be at the Electrify America if it works and there's a spot open. But either way, not being able to use the V2s isn't a huge thing. It would just be nice if all the V3s were open. So anyway, the Mach-E is still at a disadvantage, I think, just because of the Tesla's really being able to use all the chargers and the Mach-E can't. But it can use a lot, and that's definitely an improvement. I think the Mach-E Bluecruise, the system's probably a little more predictable. You also mentally know what it can and can't do. So when you're off the highway, it's not going to be reading stop signs. It's not going to be reading traffic lights, and this can, which is impressive and really cool. Say all this interior space, I think where this armrest is and being able to use the navigation, it doesn't. With the Mach-E, it feels like if you're going to use the screen a lot, you actually need to have your elbow kind of suspended in the air, which then starts to not feel good. You kind of get fatigued, where this, it goes far enough forward where you can leave your elbow rest and touch all the icons on the screen. I think the door handles on the Model Y and the Tesla is actually easier to use. I like being able to kind of unlock it with a physical handle. When the Mach-E works, it's fine. But as you've heard me talk about on the channel, it's just been so intermittent for me. And yeah, it's just kind of annoying. And I haven't had that experience with the Tesla, which is nice. So yeah, which one should you get? Well, if the Tesla supercharging is like the main thing for you, what you're using the car for, if you're road tripping a lot, Tesla still has the edge there. Like I said, the Mach-E can't use every supercharger out there. So that could be kind of a deciding factor. If you want a 7-seat configuration, you've got young kids that are kind of just getting out of car seats, or maybe they're in a booster seat where they can go buckle themselves. The 7-seat option is pretty cool in the Model Y. If you need a little bit more storage room, for your luggage or for, other odds and ends, the Model Y is probably going to be a little bit better. If you want it to feel more like you're driving, kind of something a little more different or a little more exciting, I think the looking out over the hood on the Mach-E, I think that feels cool. I think the Mach-E handles a little bit better. Obviously styling wise, that's going to be up to you. Which one do you like better styling wise? That could be a deciding factor. I think the Mach-E is better. The technology, there's no question the Tesla has a better technology. Just all the features you can do, how responsive the infotainment is, the built-in navigation. I think the only advantage the Mach-E has there is if Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, if that's a deal breaker for you, then you're gonna want to go Mach-E. Also, driver assistance. There's a big difference between the full self-driving and the Bluecruise, but full self-driving does cost a lot more, at least right now. It's thousands more. I don't know what the current number is, but it's a lot more, where the Bluecruise is a lot less expensive. Now, Bluecruise is also a lot less capable, but it is more capable than the basic autopilot in Tesla. And so if you do a lot of highway driving, if you're commuting a lot on highways that are Bluecruise mapped, and you intend to use that a lot, that could be a better value to get the Bluecruise. If you don't care about the 7 seats, if you don't care about the superchargers, or at least you don't care about them a lot, and you like the styling of the Mach-E, you should probably go Mach-E. If you want the best technology, the most frequent software updates, the smoothest, most responsive infotainment, you should go Tesla. Those are probably all the things you need to factor in. I would definitely take both for a drive, sit in both cars. So yeah, I think that's about it. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.